Hey, everybody. Welcome to 4C Live. Just me tonight. Becker could make it. Who knows? Jeff, just blowing us off. Don't do the show for a week and, nobody shows up. What are you going to do? Oh, man. We only have one person watching. I wonder if something's going on with this because there was something. Oh, Jason Harris. Hey, what's up, Jason? See if we can get a little better crowd here before we start talking too much about stuff. What's going on, Scott?
Well, I've just been juggling.
Yeah.
Been doing stuff for 13th Dimension, doing comics for the Kid and a Comic.
Yeah.
And all kinds of stuff.
Excellent.
Yep. Excellent. Working on the new Savage Dragon spinoff.
Oh, how's that going?
It's all written and penciled. I just have to clean it up a little bit and start inking, and I'll be on my way.
So is that going to be published through
Image?
Image. Excellent.
Yeah, it's just going to be a one-shot, but
yeah. Well,
and I introduced new characters, and they're all funny animal characters run by Captain Ferret.
There you go.
Yeah. Hi, DC.
That's funny. Captain Ferret.
And he's kind of like Bilko. He's more of a funny character than a hero type.
Yeah.
But he does have super speed.
Nice. So Scott is actually, he can sketch tonight, but he does have a bunch of pre-done pieces that we can show off. They're the same price. I mean, we're doing $100 head sketches if Scott does something. But the pieces he has are basically like $100.
Here,
So,
let me change the camera, and I'll just. People are there, people not there.
You guys want if you see any of those pieces, you want to claim it, just claim it, and we'll get it taken care of. Hold on.
Let's see. Come on. I have to move everything over here.
I'm gonna move the camera.
Let me try it early up there further. Okay.
There you go.
That's actually better for seeing. Yeah, there's the great Gazoo.
Great Gazoo. There you go.
Got Jane Jetson.
There you go.
Got the Flintstones dog. Or I'm sorry, dog. They're fat.
These are 75. Okay, I'm sorry. There's 75 on these.
We've got Fred.
We got Fred. Okay, Barney. There you go. These are 9x12, right?
Right. And this is Baby Puss. That's his name. Here's George Jetson. Boo Boo. Magilla Gorilla. Dino. Mr. Spacely. Ed Grimley, which was the show I produced and directed. Yeah. Here's everybody's favorite Betty Rubble. Elroy Jetson. Wilma Flintstone. And some color ones of various types of coloring.
Now, these aren't 75,
No.
the color ones, but are they grape ape?
Grape Ape is King Kong. This is Fred Flintstone as the Thing. You've got Fred Flintstone as the Hulk. You've got Judy Jetson as Sue Storm. You've got Tom and Jerry as Galactus and Silver Surfer. And here we have Fred realizing the Flintstones have been around for 65 years. And they've been around for 74 years. And I remember very clearly seeing the very first episode of the Flintstones. They promoted it a lot, so I was all for it because I wanted to be a cartoonist or a paleontologist. And I saw what Fred looked like, and he looked like my dad. And that was on actually it was today. It was on September 30th, 1960.
Wow.
So there you go. And if you think he's horrified, I'm horrified at being 74.
Someone's asking how much for the Tom and Jerry.
I don't know, 150.
There you go, Jason. $150. A steal, as they say.
Well, I don't have the rights to do it, but I'm doing it anyway, so it is a steal.
Yeah, it's 9 by 12. Yep, I think so. Or 11 by 14.
The big ones are 11 by 14.
11 by 14 on those color ones.
These big ones, yeah.
Yeah. So 11 by 14, 150.
And I worked at Hanna-Barbera quite a while. I'd always been interested in Hanna-Barbera even since I was a little kid. But my first work on it was inking some of the comics that Marvel was doing in around 76. And that was some of my first professional work on mainstream comics. I was doing a lot of underground comics before then. But after working on those for a while, I was invited to work in the studio itself. And being young and cocky, I said, well, I kind of like working at home. What's the show? I figured, because at that time, most of the shows weren't really interesting me. And they said, well, it's a new Flintstone show. I said, well, when do I start? And I went over to start on it, and they weren't ready yet. They had financially, they had to start it in 3 weeks from then. So I wound up working on Godzilla for Doug Wildey, the guy that created Johnny Quest. And
Nice.
he was a real character. Of course, Dave Stevens made him one of his characters in his Rocketeer. But and he and Dave really had a good relationship. But I remember Doug came by. He was, I guess, from Boston maybe. He goes, maybe New York, I don't know. But he goes, you're Scott Shaw. You're the guy that does Bigfoot cartooning, right? And Bigfoot cartooning back in the old days was considered gag cartooning because everybody had big nose or big feet. And I said, I knew the term, so I could at least respond rather than saying, what are you talking about? I said, yeah. He goes, you don't draw humans too well, do you? He's pretty damn blunt. And I said, no, that's not my specialty. I draw funny characters, not realistic characters. But I'm good at monsters, aren't I? And he goes, yeah, I seen them. They're okay. I said, look, it's only going to be another 2.5 weeks. If you can just give me, I was in layout. I said, if you can just give me scenes with monsters, that way you'll get what you want, and then you'll be rid of me. He goes, that sounds like a good idea. I never worked for him again. We were always friendly with each other, though. I think he probably liked the fact that I wasn't bullshitting him.
That's funny.
I mean, it was obvious I couldn't do that sort of work. And I even now, I can't draw realistically. It's not in my blood.
Yeah. Jason wants him to see the Tom and Jerry again.
Let's see here.
There you go, Jason.
Yeah, let me move around for a second.
Oh, you can see it. Just gotta hold it up. It looks pretty good. There you go. There you go, Jason. He put the J on his chest. That's funny. That's good stuff.
I remember originally he had a G on his chest, and everybody thought that was goofy. It was like, he's from outer space. He shouldn't really know how to spell things from Earth.
Jason said he'll take it.
Great.
Oh.
Great.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. So let me just start talking while we're talking here. Because talking about Flintstones, I might as well draw Fred. Because to me, his head is the most beautiful thing on the planet. Hanna-Barbera, when they were first doing their TV stuff, realized that they couldn't spend the same kind of money when they were doing Tom and Jerry's. MGM had the highest amount of money for their shorts of any of the studios. So they were kind of spoiled by getting to do exactly what they wanted. And so as MGM was shutting them down, Bill Hanna went, and I don't know how much this was planned, but I'm pretty sure it was planned because I knew both men quite well. He went over to work on Crusader Rabbit, which was a from some of the same people that wound up in Jay Ward's outfit, including Jay Ward. And they taught him how to do these cartoons really cheap with a narrator at the beginning and end, so you don't have to animate anybody's mouths, and also reuse animation from the last episode. And worked there for about 3 months, quit, went back to Joe Barbera and said, "Here's how we do it." And their first show was Rough and Ready, which was pretty much Crusader Rabbit with just better looking stuff. Crusader Rabbit was so cheap originally, they actually had those I don't know if they still use them, but those wooden things they'd put on your tongue to look down your throat.
Yeah.
They had them glued to the drawings and would just shoot them with a camera, not like animation, but literally filming it, and they just move them around.
That's funny.
Yeah, and sometimes you could see the stick sticking up and everything. They didn't care.
Justin wants to know if he can claim a Godzilla from you.
Whoa, Godzilla, the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla?
Yeah, Justin, what do you want? The Hanna-Barbera Godzilla?
He doesn't look much like the real Godzilla. But I'm willing to do it if you are.
Lucas wants one too. So 2 claims for Godzilla.
All right. Well, let me find. Hold on just a second. Let me find it because I haven't drawn him since 1976. So let me make. I did do a one of those connect the numbers books with him years ago.
Would it be, since there's 2? Is it Godzilla? Is that how you? Is it the proper plural pronunciation?
I'm not sure, but by the way, I think they have DVDs of those, and if you ever see them, if you're fans of Hanna-Barbera Godzilla, Dave Stevens did some of the things I kept using where he's like walking around in the water, kind of with just up to kind of his knees.
Yeah.
And you notice he has pretty eyes. Layouts usually are interpreted by animators, but Doug really liked his stuff, so he probably laid on the people to make sure it looked like Dave's work. But yeah, you'll notice that he's a pretty Godzilla. Not when I'm done with him. There you go. Okay. All right, let's do it. In fact, this drawing I found looks like Dave did it. But I'm going to cheat and not show you.
Let's see what happens.
I'm going to switch cameras here for a second so you can see it
come to life.
Yeah. Hopefully I can come to life too. All right, let's see here.
Godzilla with a pager.
This is my tiki thing somebody sent me. Let me get rid of this. This is getting in my way.
So how's the weather out there in sunny California?
It's been pretty hot, but slowly going down.
Yeah. They said we were going to get brushed with a hurricane, and I think it rained a little bit. That's the most we got.
See, right here they changed the design. They put one of those fins on top of his head, which I don't know why they did that. Probably the network wanted it. The network are usually the people that make the worst decisions on all the stuff that we love.
Godzilla.
Well, not really. I think this was as much. I don't know if you remember, about the same time, Mattel had those robots from a Japanese and anime series overseas that were finally coming to America. And they also had that Godzilla that could shoot his tongue out at you.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what this is kind of supposed to be.
Gotcha.
I think that's the reason they kind of changed all this a little bit. Okay, let's do this one.
So we didn't have a show last Tuesday, so for anybody who gives a shite, I'm getting my knee replaced in December. So in 2026, hopefully when you guys see me at the conventions, I'll be running around a little more than I normally do. But as of right now, I'm walking with a cane. My knee's just shot. It's over. It's done. Put a fork in it. Pat said he was going to try to get them done for New York Comic Con, but I haven't talked to him in the last week or so. Thanks. Thanks, Emilio. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you, Lucas. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm so done with this. I was telling Scott I can't even sleep now. Because when I go to sleep, my knee tends to twist in the wrong direction, or if my other leg lays on top of it or anything like that, I wake up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning in excruciating pain, and I'm done. That's it. I'm up. So I'm pretty exhausted all the time. It's been rough. It's been rough. So I'm looking forward to finally getting this thing taken care of. Is that the right amount of teeth?
I'm faking it. Looking at this now, it's kind of surprising they had to give him so many teeth, because that was expensive to animate, even if they were just there,
Yeah.
The other day I found a piece of art I'd forgotten I did, not for Hanna-Barbera, but their friends, Ruby Spears. One of those guys used to work on the garden for Bill Hanna, and they wound up writing a lot of stuff for Hanna-Barbera, and eventually had their own studio. And sometimes if one was busy and the other wasn't, they would actually share the work, which is really unusual in animation. Another thing Doug liked to do, and on those Johnny Quests, especially the early ones, they were really spending a lot of money because he wanted to add shadows and chiaroscuro things so the characters looked a little more real. And after the first episode, they said, we spent too much money, we got to change it down. By the end of it, they were doing really, it looked good, but not nearly the kind of effort they put into these early ones.
Yeah.
That was worked out great because that was right before the superhero thing started coming in 76, I should say. So they really knew what to do to keep everybody happy. Because they certainly weren't going to lose money again. By the way, to many of you that don't know this, today is the 65th birthday of the Flintstones.
Well, happy birthday, Fred and Wilma.
He's a fossil now, just like me. But when I was a kid, I wanted to be a paleontologist or a cartoonist, and Jay Ward and Hanna-Barbera were my favorite studios. I mean, how many kids have a favorite studio? Now probably a lot, but back then it was unique for anybody to even wonder who made the cartoons.
Right.
But this was a big deal for me as a kid, and certainly affected my career in the best way possible. Oh, this isn't going to work here. I'm going to have to. Come on, camera. There we go. There he is.
I love it.
All right, that's number one, and you guys can wrestle to figure out who what's which one. We'll set up a mud pit for you guys to wrestle with.
Exactly.
All right. Maybe I found another one here that's good to use.
So I'm looking at this piece that somebody sent me, right? And it's got all these remarks on it by Simpsons animators. I'm going to name some of these names. You tell me if you know anybody, Scott.
Sure.
Mike B. Anderson.
No.
Rich Moore.
Yes.
Wes Archer.
Yes.
David Silverman.
David Silverman's the guy that pretty much designed the characters.
Yeah. Jim Reardon.
I've heard of him. I don't know quite exactly what he does.
Bob Anderson.
I'm going to turn this over because I realize I can do it.
Pete Michaels. Mark Kirkland.
Mark Kirkland was a guy that I first met at Hanna-Barbera, and he was a director there for a long time.
Chuck Sheets, I think it says. Michael Taylor, I think. Mark Kirkland.
That's him again.
Wes Archer, Stan Moore.
By the way, to the gentleman that wanted this version of Godzilla, I assume that you hated Godzuki as much as everybody else. Godzuki was apparently they must have seen Minya, the son of Godzilla, but they wanted to make him cute, and he was designed by the same guy that designed Scooby-Doo, so you can only imagine how off it looked.
Yeah.
They couldn't do much with Godzilla. He mainly wrestled with monsters. He didn't knock down a lot of buildings. But he did have rays coming out of his eyes, something he never did in the movies, but there you go. Sometimes they change it all around, even from Japan.
We have open claims here for Scott, so if anybody wants anything, you can just claim it. $75 for a head sketch like he's doing right now. Obviously, animation characters are going to be, especially Hanna-Barbera.
I have a feeling somebody's going to want a Scooby-Doo any minute now.
They might.
I have to say, Scooby was never a favorite of mine. He had this kind of ability to act like his legs, especially. One minute they looked like a dog could use them. The next minute he's walking around on his hind legs and holding things with his hands. And it just was very hard figuring out which I should use. And none of it ever really seemed to work that well. However, I really like that Scooby-Doo, it was called Mystery Incorporated. And the big difference was Warner Brothers was doing it. They owned Hanna-Barbera, and they finally just kind of put H&B down. It was more like Cartoon Network was kind of the new version of Hanna-Barbera.
Right.
But they had the Batman people doing it. And suddenly it had a real vibe of danger. And they're running them now. If any, I realized this proves that no matter how much you dislike a property, if you have the right approach, it's still much more interesting.
Right.
At least to me. I mean, I'm real picky after working all this stuff. Although a lot of people would say if you worked at Hanna-Barbera, you probably think everything's great and it's garbage. No, that would have been if I worked for Filmation. Filmation was one of those studios, even as a kid, I just couldn't stand looking at the stuff. Fortunately, I was too old for He-Man, which would have driven me nuts.
Oh, Justin Butler said he also wants to claim a frustrated Tomcat.
Oh, great. I've got the actual pitch art for Top Cat that I pulled out of the dumpster at Hanna-Barbera.
Oh my God.
There was a guy that they hired to be keeping their history and had a display up in Bill Hanna's old office. And everybody thought that was a good idea. I donated some stuff. A lot of us fanboys had extras. We gave them. And one morning, we came back, and this guy had taken all of these long pans that were like probably 6 feet long or more or longer for background. So when they're running, they have something to be going past you.
Yeah.
He took them all, cut them up so he could put them with cells, and we were still working on the shows. So, and those were expensive to do. So Bill Hanna went berserk when he found out and had everything they had in there thrown in the trash. A giant metal bin. And secretary gives me a call and says, at first I thought I was in trouble because she was calling me, and I thought, oh, what have I done now? She said, you have to get down there. Mr. Hanna has lost his marbles, and he's throwing all the stuff away. I didn't buy it to resell it. I'm too much of a collector. But I got a lot of stuff that nobody had ever seen for a long, long time. And the pitch for Ken, originally, it was JB and Company. And JB stood for Joe Barbera.
Oh.
And I don't think it was a joke. I think he was planning to call it that, but then they changed something, and then it became Top Cat. And in England, they had a cat food called Top Cat, so they couldn't use it. So in England, on TV, he was called Boss Cat. But I like that show a lot. Of course, I was also a big fan of Sergeant Bilko, and it's very obviously a ripoff of that. But just about everything that Hanna-Barbera did was a ripoff of something. The only one that wasn't was Quick Draw McGraw, because that was a parody of all of the shows that people were watching on TV, which was Westerns, which was Quick Draw, detectives, who were Super Snooper and Blabbermouth, and comedies, for families. So that was what Augie Doggy and Doggy Daddy were done. And by the way, to you fans, I understand that they are finally cleaning those up and making and doing DVDs of them, and they will be on that Me TV Tunes show too. All right, there we go.
There you go.
All right, now Top Cat, huh?
Okay. Frustrated. Oh, it's Tomcat from Tom and Jerry. That's what.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you told me.
He clarified it. He clarified it.
All right, Tom's a little more subtle. Let me find the Tom here. I've drawn him a lot of times, but I haven't drawn him recently. So let me see what I can find. Oh, here's a good one. Frustrated. I still think, as much as I love the cheap stuff in the 60s that H&B did, Tom and Jerry, I think those shorts, especially from the 40s, are the best animation shorts of all time. There is something about them, and one of the things that they did that if you Tom and Jerry fans notice, maybe you haven't noticed, they would time everything to music. So that therefore, even though they didn't have the music yet, when they timed everything, they timed it on bar sheets. So if you ever look at a Tom and Jerry cartoon, you're going to find out that it's all been worked out originally in the very first place. So that way, no matter what they were doing, they could fit it to some music, at least the beat of the music, if not the music specifically. By the way, if you notice the Tom and Jerry's from the 50s, they removed that patch, that gray patch between his eyes because it cost more money to do it. I know it sounds little, but when the way they were moving around, you had to do that with hand inked stuff. It was expensive to do.
I used to love Tom and Jerry. That's probably my favorite cartoon growing up, next to Bugs Bunny.
The nice thing about Tom and Jerry is any culture on the planet understands what's going on because it's mostly pantomime. You know, most of the Hanna-Barbera stuff really relied on having characters talk a lot because that way they weren't moving around as much. But as time went on, they kind of lost control because they started sending more and more stuff overseas. And by the time I was a producer there, you kind of got whatever you got, and it was too late to have it fixed because it was overseas. Now, I'm not making, I certainly appreciate the work of animators all over the world, but when you really aren't in control, things go bad really quickly. By the way, they run them every so often on the what's the name of this the network that shows all this stuff. Anyway, you know where it is. You're talking. You know. I'm sorry.
Cartoon Network.
Yeah, Cartoon Network. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They show these little shorts. They're little Tom and Jerry, about 5-minute shorts, made in Singapore, and it all takes place in Singapore. Yet the animation and the gags, they're still violent in a way, but it's all for a whole different culture, and it all takes place in Singapore. But the timing on them is perfect, and I really think if Bill and Joe were still alive, they would actually love them because they have that 1940s vibe to them while doing them slightly cheaper, but not nearly as cheap as some of the ones they made for their own studio in the 70s. That was also distressing because it was Tom and Jerry now are friends. And it's like, yeah, they were friends when they're trying to kill each other. But, it was more fun, having that attitude without them being budsy wudsies.
Yeah. I used to hate those when that version of Tom and Jerry would play on the television. I used to really hate it.
Yeah, you want to see them getting murdered.
And that stupid music, and I can hear those goofy sounds that they used to play. And
those probably were the ones Filmation did, which were hideous.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know how they got the rights to do that, but it was MGM, not Hanna-Barbera. But those, they were still the ones at Hanna-Barbera. They were supposed to be friends, and that was kind of shocking too. Anybody have any questions about Hanna-Barbera? I'm trying to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions for Scott, I mean, he has a tremendous career. Obviously worked with a lot of great animators, Hanna-Barbera, of course. And,
I'll tell you one funny story, and this is absolutely true. I was the producer of the Ed Grimley Show, and on my birthday, on a Saturday, he wanted me to come to the studio so he could show me how to learn how to cut film. Now, of course, now it's all done digitally, but back then it was physical stuff. And I was there all day long, and I kept kind of trying to joke with him. I say, if I was back at 9 years old and I said I thought I was going to spend my day with Bill Hanna, I think I'd lose it. My head would explode. And he kind of give me this look like, hey, we're working here kind of attitude. It was like, well, can't we at least have fun while we're working? And I guess he probably felt a little bad because he was kind of scowling at me. So as we went back to our cars when we were finally done, I was walking out there with him, and he was next to me, and he puts his arm around me, which is pretty funny because I was a lot bigger than he was. I don't think he could get his arm around me. But he goes, kid, don't create anything if you can steal it. I'm like doing a double take because it's like, yeah, I kind of knew that even when I was a kid. I just didn't know it was illegal. You know, it was like I knew that the Flintstones were the honeymooners. I knew that the Jetsons were actually the Blondie characters. You know, I'd seen enough old movies and stuff, I could pick it up. But to hear him actually kind of admit that, yes, we are thieves here at Hanna-Barbera, and it kind of solidified a lot of things I'd always figured. So,
Yeah. Justin asked, what was your favorite series to work on?
my favorite series was only a one year series. It was Quickie Koala, and Quickie had super
You'll need to unlock
speed.
your iPhone first. None of your accessories can do that.
Well, I don't
I don't know how
know.
it's serious about what you were saying.
Now I'm going to throw this away. Sorry, folks. Tex Avery created it and was working at the studio. And I got to work with Tex Avery. That was a big deal. I mean, he was even all the directors' favorites. Even the egotistical Chuck Jones admitted that he was much better than anybody. And I had a really funny experience with him. He was this. We also had a character that was going to be on this Flintstones 90-minute show, which is really too long, too much for any character, in my opinion. It just wears you out. But he was called Cave Mouse. And Cave Mouse, it was kind of like Tom and Jerry, except Dino was going to be chasing this cave mouse all over the Flintstones home. And Tex only died after only one episode. Same thing with Quickie Koala. But he was really upset because Iwo Takamoto, the guy that designed Scooby-Doo, designed him to look like Scooby-Doo with the goofy eyes and everything. And so I came into his office to bring him something, and he wasn't there. And I left something on his table, which was my drawing of him doing a take on him looking at this new design, and he was just horrified by it. And his clothes are flying off, his eyes are bugging out, all the Tex Avery stuff that he do. And I left it on his chair. The next couple of days later, I had some stuff because I was working for him. I was coming up with gags for these characters, the Bungle Brothers, that were essentially his new versions of those bears and dogs that one was smart, little, and I was giant and stupid. And anyway, I came, and he wasn't there that day either, at least not when I came. But he had taken my drawing and pinned it to the wall. Right, his desk was right up against the wall, and it was at eye level. And I thought, holy crap, I made Tex Avery laugh. And that's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my career. Because the poor guy was not enjoying life. He didn't want to be called Tex. He told everybody his real name's what was his real name? Fred. But we didn't know it, but his adult son had just committed suicide. And Bill Hannah found out about it, and he said that he was really drinking hard. And they loved the guy, so they wanted to give him something to do. And he immediately went into like, leave me alone. I'm going to come up with everything myself, which is exactly what we wanted to see. All right, there you go. There's Tom.
There's Tom. Somebody else asked, did you work on Hong Kong Phooey or Speed Buggy?
I worked on Hong Kong Phooey comic books. I not only worked for this animation, I also did a lot of the comics for them. And these were ones that they were printing overseas. So I got to write the stories as well as draw them. And it wasn't bad.
I want one from you. My favorite character, Captain Caveman.
Could you please? I'm going to take that to the toilet. Stop doing that. Sure. Did you like Captain Caveman in that Scooby-Doo movie?
Yeah, I remember. I actually watched that on your advice.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think he was voiced by Tracy Morgan.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that version better than the one they had in the shows. Although I did work on. There was a show that was after the. I also worked at Marvel on Muppet Babies for, I think, 5 years, and when I went back over to Hanna-Barbera, they were doing the same thing. Everybody was jumping on. They had Pink Panther as a child, a lot of stuff like that, and they had the Flintstones as kids. And the middle of the show had Captain Caveman in it, and I thought it worked a lot better as the hero of Caveman than than their own show, because it was like Charlie's Girls, except Charlie was a caveman.
Right.
And the girls were really cute. The designs were, but animating them took a lot of the cuteness out of them. And this is another design by the guy that designed Scooby, Iwo Takamoto, who came over from Disney. And he was the guy that started fairly early working on the funny animal characters, but when everything shifted into the 70s and it was all about teenage characters, that was what he was really good at.
Yeah.
But I have to say about Hanna and Barbera both, I've worked at a lot of studios over the years, and it isn't just the fact that I loved their work when I was a kid, but they had something that nobody else had going on at the time. First of all, they were people that actually knew how to make a cartoon. I mean, everybody was sending stuff over to Asia, which was good or bad. That's what everybody was doing. But they really knew how to make it work. And the other thing, they still had guys working there at the studio, animators mainly, that had worked on the original Tom and Jerry cartoons. They had loyalty that you never see in Hollywood or at any other studio I've ever worked for. Working for Disney is like working for the government. It's not fun. I remember I worked at Disney for a while, and I would be sitting there waiting for a page. They'd give me a page for storyboard scripts one at a time, which I thought was ridiculous, because if you're telling a story, don't you know what the end is going to be, so you can kind of work against it or with it, depending on what you want to do. But I didn't have anything to do, so it was on a project that with Santa Claus and his elves. And I thought, well, I also am a designer. I do a lot of different things in animation and elsewhere. And I started drawing different styles of elves and Santa Clauses, figuring, look, even if you hate this, now you know that you don't want to do it this way. And somebody came up to me, not an artist, but somebody that was working there as just a paper pusher, who had later boasted to me, you guys are only here 6 months at a time, but I'm here all 12 months a year. And I'm thinking, okay, why are you telling me this? But she told me, she said, you can't do anything but just sit here and twiddle your thumbs. And I thought, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. So I sat there and drew cartoons of monsters that I later printed as a coloring book for myself. I figured, if you weren't going to do it, I'm going to do it for myself. I just can't stand wasting time,
Yeah. Marcus asked, did you watch the most recent Smurf movie?
I've worked on the Smurfs. I wrote on the Smurfs. I really haven't kept up with the Smurfs. Once in a while, I'll watch them on Nickelodeon because I know they've added some female characters that are also Smurfs, but there's not just the one with the blonde hair anymore, which makes sense, especially just due to you want to have a little bit of everybody in shows now, right?
Yeah.
But I just, I don't even watch the cartoons that I worked on for the most part because all I see are the flaws. But yeah, the new Smurf movie, last movie I think I saw was Fantastic Four. Is it any good? Do you like it? Whoever asks this. I'm just being curious. I'm not going to bust you if you liked it or didn't like it.
Says here to let you know. I'll be right back, Scott.
Okay. And I don't know if all you know this, but Mel Blanc was the voice of Captain Caveman. The guy that was Bugs Bunny's voice. Oh, good. It's Ken's dog barking instead of my dog barking.
I'm back. Let's see.
There you go, Ken.
All right. There you go. Captain of the Caveman.
While I'm signing, let's see who wants which of these Godzillas. Okay,
There you go.
we've got him beaming with pleasure, and we got the angry one.
There you go. And Sky's open for claims. Anybody else want to claim anything? He is available to do something.
Let me show some of these headshots. Actually, let me show some of these. We've got some other things here too that I haven't shown you. Why don't I show you these?
Sure.
Just these aren't Hanna-Barbera, but they are still cartoon shows that you know. First of all, I was the very first person to draw Sonic the Hedgehog comics, number 0, 1, 2, and 3. And here, let me change my thing here so I can show it to you easily. There I'm back. Okay. Here's one with Sonic the Hedgehog racing Speedy Gonzalez, as well as my character from the Zoo Crew, Fastback.
Nice.
We have, I always, when they asked me to work on Sonic, it was brand new. I didn't know what he was. I wanted to see a picture of him before I took the job. They told me he reminded me of Felix the Cat. So here he is, really looking like Felix the Cat. And by the way, that was intentional. He was not only drawn to look like Felix, but also Mickey Mouse, because they were the first two celebrities in animation back in the 1920s. So it makes perfect sense what I thought. Here's an actual serious drawing, kind of serious, of The Thing. Ben Grimm. I've got three favorite superheroes, and this is one of them. The other two is Wonder Warthog and Popeye, who are also in here. Here's a new one that I did just a couple of weeks ago. Little Lulu and Swamp Thing together. She's pouring some water on his head to make flowers grow.
Nice.
Here's some of you may remember in What If number 8, I created Man Spider. This is a guy over here. Wait. This guy over here. And there's Spider Ham. If you hate that one, you can like this one. You just flip it. Speaking of Popeye, here's Popeye as Wolverine with a nice spinach background. This one we will talk about. Here's Piggy. I worked on Muppet Babies for a long time, and I really enjoyed that show because the network really was so scared of Jim Henson. If they didn't like something, he might get mad at him. So if he liked it, they just went along with it. So we really made the show unique. Well, here's another Popeye. This one's with colored pencil. Here's a Fozzie Bear as the Thing. There he is. Here's Grover, if Grover was kind of sleazy. And now some Captain Carrot characters. I have Ali Cadabra. Here is Yankee Poodle. Here's a better colored version of Pig Iron versus Man Spider. Here's Fastback. Here's Little Cheese. Teenage Mouse. Here's Rubber Duck. Oh, here's a nicer version of Piggy. She's done with paint instead of pencils. Oh, and here's my Man Spider character upside down. Here's a third version of that one. They're selling really well, folks. Here's Garfield as Darth Vader. My characters from Underground Comics. Dr. Pointer S. Toxin, parody of Hunter Thompson. And here's the character that I designed for the Zoo Crew, Pig Iron. Roy and I came up with the other characters, and then I said, Roy, we got to have a guy like the Thing or the Hulk or somebody. Every team of superheroes needs a big guy.
Yeah.
And speaking of Jim Henson, there's my favorite Muppet Baby. I did a lot of songs about him in the show. And speaking of Sonic, that's what Sonic looked like in my comics. And here, a more colorful Fozzie. And I mentioned Wonder Warthog. Well, here he is, but he's Pig Iron is dressed as Wonder Warthog. They're both giant pigs. Yeah. Anybody else have any interests?
Last call, guys, for anything by Mr. Shaw. All right, I guess we. Oops, hold on a second. Been a while. Yeah, I think we'll probably we'll call this now. Bill, thanks, Jason, Justin, Lucas for claiming some stuff, and Scott will send that stuff out to me.
Who wanted me to sign the Godzillas? Who should I sign to who?
Well, it's Justin and Lucas. Do they want it personalized? I'm not sure. You guys want them personalized? You want them made out to you?
And how about Tom?
Tom. Well, Justin, he had both of those. I'll wait to see if they're still in the room. If you guys want to personalize, just let me know real quick. And we will get those taken care of for you. Justin said, sure. You can put two Justin.
So which one does he want?
He said it didn't matter which one.
Okay.
Lucas said he'd like his, he wants one with the laser eyes. Lucas wants one with the laser eyes. And he said you could personalize it.
Okay, what's his name?
Lucas, Lucas.
All right, and Justin also wanted the Tom, right?
He had the Tom and the other Godzilla. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yep.
Well, thank you all.
Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Kind of a quick show, but that's okay. We sold some pieces and
some stories.
Got told some stories. Yeah, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll have Jeff and Becker back. I couldn't think of his name. Yeah, we'll see you guys then. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you, buddy. Nice seeing you again.
Thank you.
All right, man. We'll see you real soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.